A Halloween song I pulled out from last year and hadn't played since last year. But I thought it was the perfect Halloween song. It's kind of a ghost story.
Ooh, funky.
Like Charlie Daniels. Are you still clueless, Rich? You'll get it as soon as I play the first lick. You think you know it? Well, if you ever go back in the woody swamp, well, you better not go at night. There's things out there in the middle of the woods make you stronger, die from fright. Things that crawling, things that flying, things creep around on the ground. And they say the ghost of Lucius Clay gets up and he walks around. Well, I couldn't believe it. Just had to find out for myself. Well, I couldn't conceive it. Cause I never would have listened to nobody else who didn't believe it. Had to find out for myself. But there's some things in this world you just can't explain. The old man lived in the woolly swamp way back in Booger Woods. He never did do a lot of harm in the world, but he never did do no good. People didn't think too much of him, they all thought he acted funny. The old man didn't care about people anyway, all he cared about was his money. He'd shove it all down in mason jars and bury it all around. And on certain nights when the moon was right, he'd dig it up out of the ground. He'd pour it all out on the floor of his shack and run his fingers through it. Yeah, Lucius Clay was a greedy old man. That's all there was to it. Well, if you ever go back in the woolly swamp, well, you better not go at night. There's things out there in the middle of the woods make you stronger, die from fright. Things that crawl and things that fly and things creep around on the ground. And they say the ghost of Lucius Clay gets up and he walks around. Well, I couldn't believe it. Just had to find out for myself. Well, I couldn't conceive it. Cause I never would have listened to nobody else who didn't believe it. Just had to find out for myself. But there's some things in this world you just can't explain. The Cagle boys was white trash that lived over in Carver's Creek. They were mean as a snake and sneaky as a cat and belligerent when they'd speak. One night the oldest brother said, "Y'all meet me at the woolly swamp later. We'll take all of Lucius's money and we'll feed him to the alligators." They found the old man out in the shack with a shovel in his hand, 13 rusty mason jars just dug up out of the sand. And they all went crazy and they beat the old man and they picked him up off the ground, threw him in the swamp and stood there and laughed as the black water sucked him down. They turned around and went back to the shack, picked up the money and ran. They hadn't gone nowhere when they realized they were running in quicksand. And they struggled and they screamed and they couldn't get away, and just before they went under, you'd hear the old man laughing in a voice as loud as thunder. Well, that's been 50 years ago, and you can go by there yet. There's a spot in the yard in the back of that shack where the ground is always wet. And on certain nights when the moon is light, down that long dark footpath, you can hear 3 young men screaming. You can hear one old man laugh. Well, if you ever go back in the woolly swamp way, you better not go at night. There's things out there in the middle of the woods make a strong man die from fright. Things that crawl and things that fly and things creep around on the ground. And they say the ghost of Lucius Clay gets up and he walks around. Well, I couldn't believe it. Just had to find out for myself. Well, I couldn't conceive it. Cause I never would have listened to nobody else. Well, I didn't believe it. Just had to find out for myself. But there's some things in this world you just can't explain. Hold on. Where is it? Where is it? Tricky little riff, you know. If it wasn't for that, I could master that song.
Yay.
I thought it was the perfect ghost story. Did y'all enjoy it?
Yeah.